Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we're going back to Lindberg land with an interesting kit. It's a Swedish jet Dragons by Saab, otherwise known as the Saab J-35A. This is a 1960 boxing in 1/48 scale with a box code of, or model code of 570-98. You've got box art done by Ray Gadke, and in fact they've got Ray Gadke's name, or signature, right on the cover. So let's take a look at this. So you've got pretty neat box cover art. You've got the Saab here in bare metal with afterburner going. You got some squadron mates back here. You got this giant pod of some sort launching rockets as well. Wing rockets, double stacked. Just all kinds of stuff going on here. So you got authentic scale plastic construction airplane kit with belly rockets that fire. So this is something that's got an operating feature. Got instructions in English, Deutsch, German, French, and Spanish. And Lindberg line down here. Interesting, it also has, it's one of the last ones where you see the Paul, by Paul Lindberg. And for those who demand the best. Well, I don't know about that, but this is a pretty good kit. So you got an ad for Lindberg cement. Price in Canada is a little bit higher at $1.69 instead of the 98 cents. And so it does say it's got retractable landing gear, 12 wing mounted missiles, and the belly rockets that fire, where they're being manufactured in Illinois. Opposite side, you've got some information about the rocket firing feature. Spring-loaded missiles for rockets. Retractable landing gear. 15 to 64th inch equals 1 foot, which translates to 1/48 scale. The box end, repeat of the top cover. And this kit's actually 570-100 instead of the 98. I guess there's a 2-cent price adjustment by the time this one came out. And we'll go with that. So this is a rebox from an Adams kit that came out in 1959. Adams didn't last long. They were around only for a couple of years. From what I've been able to figure out about them, they initially were doing some stuff for Revell. Revell dropped some of the kits that they were making for Revell, so they decided to sell them on their own. And then they also developed some other models as well, mostly like tanks and missiles and things of that nature. They did not last very long. It appears that they may have been rebranded under the Snap name, and that was in Canada, so I don't know if they just moved to Canada or if they sold their molds to this company in Canada. But their name, the Snap name, and the way the logo is presented looks kind of similar to what the Adams label looked like on their boxes. And then a lot of the other kits ended up getting sent around town to various other companies. Some of these got picked up by Lifelike. UPC issued some of them. As you see here, Lindberg got this aircraft. It doesn't appear that they made any other aircraft. They did make a helicopter with Hawk missiles on it. So Lindberg picked up the one aircraft that they had. So let's look at it a little bit more. You've got the beginnings of the printed on cardboard. Still the same size as the earlier box, almost identical size box, but now it's just printed on folded box, which is cheaper, quicker to make. And here, let's see, let's get the instruction sheets out first. Instruction sheets is very large. whole thing in all its glory here. It'll be hard to get this whole thing in the camera. You fold it open and you've got renditions of the completed model. And they're using this as a way of showing you where your decal placement and painting is supposed to be. Advertisement for a full color catalog. Some information about the Saab itself. So this here they call it Saab Draken, which you almost always see translated to dragon. But Draken also in Swedish can also mean kite, which kind of relates to the aircraft being a delta wing aircraft. Kind of resembles a kite as well. The back's, yeah, those are just final stuff, so let's go into the inside. We've got our decal sheet, we'll set those aside. So I've got it broken down into steps, calling out the parts assembly. You do have your retractable gear, which is why it has these long stubs. And here's how your gear would be able to go up and down, and your gear doors open. They did this on a few of their other kits around this same era, so this was kind of popular at this time. Got your pilot figure on an ejection seat. Doesn't look too bad. And putting your gears inside the wings. Some final assembly. And finally you've got the launching rocket pod, and the rockets that would go inside, and then their stand. So not too sophisticated of a kit, but let's take a look at it. Oh wait, let's go, let's look at the decals here. So these are the decals that came with it. These are the same decals that came with the original Adams kit. So the Saab 35 did not enter squadron service until 1960. It first flew in 1955 and did a lot of testing. They had a lot of testing production or pre-production aircraft that they did a lot of testing with, but didn't actually enter squadron service until 1960. So the Adams kit, which came out in 1959, was kind of making up squadron markings or paint scheme for the aircraft. The 9, which would have been on the nose of this plane here like that, at this era of Swedish markings would have represented the squadron. The 9th Squadron did not ever have Saab 35s. The first squadron to receive Saab 35s was actually the 13th Squadron. And so this is kind of fantasy markings that they created for this kit because it hadn't actually made it to the squadrons yet. So let's look at the fuselage parts. So interesting, it's broken to a top and bottom. So you don't have noticeable seam lines running down the top, which is nice. Not a lot of filling needs to be done. You do have your seam lines running down the side. This is a pretty tight fit. Some good glue. You're probably not going to get much of a seam. It has to be fixed on these. As far as the kit itself goes, the moldings are a mix of raised panel lining, but fairly delicate, which is kind of nice. Some riveting around some of the panels. You got some recessed lines for, I guess these would be like elevators. Kind of a clean mold. Not much in the wheel wells, but again, some fairly nice details across the bottom as well. Very, very gentle. Or delicate, I should say. And then these pieces got put into a Ziploc. That Ziploc was not part of the original issue of this kit. Let's get these out to look at what we got. That's all of them. So here we got the stand. Clear plastic. Look at this tree here. Yeah, we got your rockets, your gear doors. Part numbers are right on the parts, on the gear doors at least, along with large ejector pin markings. Make a bit of a pain to fix those. The wheel's not too bad. Gear, Rockets are very generic looking. It's another one. Got your pilot seat, front landing gear, main wheel, some gear doors again, similar problems. Here's your pilot. Not too bad, but it looks like he's recreating the Dumb and Dumber scene maybe. But he does have a big sinkhole right in the middle of his chest. So I don't think he's going to be surviving this mission. Let's take a look at the wings. So you got 2-piece outer wings, some fences, holes for where the rockets are going to get glued into. But again, pretty nice detail. Not too heavy. Pretty decent. Got our tail, which is one solid piece. Got a pitot tube at the top there. And some nice flush lines here. Which isn't too bad. Again, you're not going to have to deal with any kind of seams on here. Fairly thin at the tail edge. A lot of times it's one of the challenges with some of these older kits is they're thick as a pan pizza on the back here. But this one's nice and thin. Pretty good molds. Got your double rocket stacks here, which again suffer from similar problems that you see with a lot of rockets where there'd be a problem with these firing since they're in a cross shape instead of an X shape. Then you've got your rocket pod thing that you would put the launching rockets in. Here's the loose launching rockets that would go in there. You have your pilot seat. That's part of the stand, maybe. Yep, that's part of the stand. Here's the cockpit canopy. Not too bad, but it does look like it's made to be raising. It's got a little tab on the end here, so I think you could open and close the cockpit, which is a feature that showed up on a lot of kits around this time as well. Here's your front windscreen. Not too bad molded, but you do have these little tabs down here which show through on the side of the molding, so that's kind of annoying. But it's pretty clear. Not that there's going to be much to see inside. You do get a pilot seat, which has a little bit of detail on it, but there's not much else inside the fuselage to look at. And then you got some mechanisms for the rocket thing. The rubber band is missing. I'm going to assume that that is deteriorated over time. And you've got a nose probe, which would have been on a prototype, which is probably what they were looking at when they made this kit. So overall, not too shabby of a kit. I think with a little bit of work, a little bit of detailing, particularly in the gear area and the cockpit area, you can make yourself a pretty nice little kit with this. And if you're interested in making a Saab in 48 scale, this was the only game in town until the 2000s when Hasegawa brought out their kit in 48 scale. This was it. So, not too bad of a kit to start with, I guess. That's what you if you wanted to make a Saab in 48 scale. So they, Lindberg did reissue this kit one other time in 1986. It was also reissued under the Lindberg Neomisa label, which is their Mexican label. And that's all they did with it, so it's a fairly rare kit. And a little bit more about the Saab 35. The original design work for this aircraft started in 1948 as a replacement for the then still, in testing, not in squadron service, Saab 29 Turin, the Flying Barrel, and the Saab 32 Lanson. It finally made it into squadron service in 1960. And at the time when it came out, this was a super performing aircraft. A big leap forward for Sweden, for Saab. Which prior to, during World War II and prior to World War II were using other people's stuff or making kind of mediocre aircraft themselves. So this ended up being the first Western European truly supersonic fighter. It's the first double Delta aircraft, and it was also one of the first to be able to reach Mach 2 in level flight, especially in Europe. This was the first plane really to effectively be able to do that. They stayed in service for quite a long time. Swedish service, they stuck around until 1999 before they were retired. They were also sold to Austria, Denmark, and Finland. Last ones to retire that was Austria in 2005. And then they were also used by the U.S. National Test Pilot School in training some of their pilots, for supersonic flight testing. So this plane, provided additional service with them. They had about 6 of them, and they retired them finally in 2009. A total of 651 of these were built between 54 and 74. And one additional thing which I was unaware of was that the Saab 35 was the first aircraft to do the Cobra maneuver. So if you remember, the Paris Air Show in the 90s when I think it was the MiG-29 did the Cobra maneuver at the Paris Air Show and shocked the world with its agility. Well, the Saab 35 was able to do that maneuver back in the 60s. So I guess no one really paid attention to the fact that the Saab could do that. So when the MiG did it, shouldn't have been such a surprise. You could pull off that maneuver. But anyway, well, that's about it for today. If you've built one of these kits, definitely let us know about it in the comments section. If you got one of these built on your shelf, take some pictures of it and send it in for next viewer build video. Always interested to see what you guys are making out there. And that's it for today. So thanks for watching, and have yourselves a great rest of your day.